Elias Ward looked out of the small window of his ship as it slowly approached the blue-green planet below. This was Velkara, a world far from Earth. Its skies were a little brighter, and its forests stretched wide like giant green carpets. Elias felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. He was the first human to visit Velkara officially, sent as a cultural envoy to learn about the Velkaran people. The Velkarans were known across many star systems. They were graceful, with smooth skin that shimmered faintly in the light. Their eyes held deep wisdom and their voices were soft and calm. But what made them different was their way of living. They communicated mostly through thoughts, not words. They did not touch each other to show feelings like humans did. For them, touch was considered unnecessary, even strange. Elias had spent months learning their customs through books and recordings, but nothing could prepare him for actually standing among them. As his ship landed softly on the velvety grass near the main city, he took a deep breath and stepped out. The air smelled fresh and sweet. Around him, tall silver trees swayed gently. Velkaran buildings looked like they grew from the ground itself, smooth curves glowing softly with light from inside. A small group of Velkarans gathered near the landing site. They looked at Elias with calm curiosity, but did not come close. Their leader, a tall figure with deep blue skin and eyes like bright sapphires, stepped forward. "Welcome, human," the leader said, speaking clearly in Elias's language. "I am Zyrith, the Velkaran cultural guide. We are pleased to meet you." Elias bowed politely. "Thank you, Zyrith. I'm honored to be here." The group motioned for Elias to follow them. They moved with an elegant, almost floating step. As Elias walked, he noticed how no one touched or reached out. No handshakes, no pats on the back, nothing to show warmth. Instead, their minds gently touched his thoughts to share greetings. It was strange but not unpleasant. At the heart of the city stood the Grand Hall of Lights. It was a place for gatherings and ceremonies. Today, there was a welcoming event for Elias. The hall filled with Velkarans dressed in shimmering robes. Their faces were beautiful and calm. Among the crowd, Elias noticed a woman standing quietly near the edge. She was different. Her skin was a lighter blue, almost like the sky just before dawn. Her hair was long and silver white, flowing down her back. Her eyes held a quiet sadness, but also a spark of something Elias could not name. She watched Elias with a soft intensity that made him look away. He felt a sudden warmth, something he had never felt before on this planet. The ceremony began. Velkarans spoke in their minds, sending words and feelings without sound. Elias tried to listen carefully and respond as best he could. They welcomed him not just with words but with images and memories. It was beautiful and strange. After the ceremony, Zyrith took Elias aside. "Velkarans do not touch as humans do," Zyrith explained. "We speak through thoughts. Touch is private and rarely shared. It is seen as a distraction." Elias nodded, trying to understand. "But don't you ever want to hold hands or hug?" Zyrith smiled gently. "Our feelings are deep, but they flow differently. Physical touch is not needed. You will learn this with time." Elias wished it were different. On Earth, a simple touch could say so much. It could comfort, cheer, and connect. Here, everything was hidden in the mind. As the days passed, Elias attended meetings and learned more about Velkaran culture. But the woman with silver-white hair, Silari as he learned, continued to appear in his thoughts and dreams. She was quiet, but always watching. One evening, Elias found himself walking near a shimmering lake outside the city. The water reflected the bright stars above. To his surprise, Silari was there, sitting alone on a smooth rock. She looked up and smiled softly. "Human," she said, her voice breaking the silence. "You see me differently?" Elias sat beside her. "I don't understand your world fully, but I feel there is more to you than what your people show." Silari looked at the stars. "We hide many things, even from ourselves." She paused, then whispered, "Sometimes, I wonder what it means to be touched. Not with thoughts, but with hands." to feel warmth on the skin, to know another is near. Elias was surprised. Is that forbidden? Scilarri smiled sadly. Not forbidden, just forgotten. Our people believe it is unnecessary, but inside I feel a quiet wish, a secret desire I do not speak aloud. Elias reached out but stopped himself. Would you want to know? Scilarri's eyes glimmered in the starlight. Perhaps, but only if I choose. That night, Elias returned to his quarters with a new feeling, a hope that maybe between their worlds something beautiful could grow. Something beyond words and thoughts. The next morning, Elias woke with a fresh sense of curiosity. Scilarri's words from the night before stayed in his mind like a quiet song. He wanted to learn more about her, but he also knew the Velcaran customs were strict. Touch was private and rare. If he crossed the line, it could cause trouble, not just for him, but for Scilarri too. At the welcoming breakfast, the Velcarans gathered around smooth tables carved from living wood. They communicated silently, sending feelings and images in their minds. Elias tried to join in but found it difficult. His mind was not trained for such quiet conversations. Suddenly, he noticed Scilarri standing apart from the others. She was watching him again, her eyes shining softly. This time, she spoke out loud, breaking the usual silence. You find our ways strange, don't you? Elias looked at her, surprised. None of the others had ever spoken aloud. Yes, he admitted honestly. It's beautiful, but I miss hearing voices and feeling connection through touch. Scilarri smiled gently. You are brave to say that. Many hide their thoughts and feelings deeper than they should. Their short exchange caught the attention of some nearby Velcarans. A few glanced in disapproval. Elias sensed the strict rules around spoken words. After breakfast, Zireth approached Elias again. Scilarri has never spoken aloud in public before. She takes risks. Elias nodded. She seems different. Special. Zireth looked at him carefully. She is. Many Velcarans see her as unusual, even difficult. But her heart is true. Elias wanted to meet her again, to understand her better. When the day's formal meetings ended, he found a quiet place in the city's crystal garden. The air smelled like fresh rain and wildflowers. There, waiting among the glowing plants, was Scilarri. She greeted him with a soft nod. You came. Elias smiled. I wanted to learn about you, Scilarri. Why do you hide your true feelings? She laughed softly, a sound like wind over smooth stones. I do not hide them, I only protect them. My people fear what they do not understand. She took a slow breath. Touch is old, human. It is raw and uncontrolled. We believe that to show feelings in the mind is better, cleaner, safer. But you don't agree? Elias asked. Scilarri shook her head. No. I see the beauty in your ways. A simple touch can say more than 1,000 thoughts. It can heal loneliness. Elias reached out his hand slowly, palm open but not touching. If you could choose, would you want to feel this? A human touch? She looked at his hand, then back at his eyes. Yes, but only if it is gentle and kind. If it is love. They sat quietly together, the garden glowing around them. Scilarri's usual calm gave way to a softer light, as if the words had freed her a little. The following days brought small changes. Scilarri and Elias met often, sometimes in public, sometimes in secret. She asked questions about Earth, about human ways of showing care and friendship. He told her stories about handshakes, hugs, and how people comfort one another. But the more they grew close, the more the others watched. Velcaran whispers floated through the halls. Scilarri is breaking tradition. She risks the council's anger. The human corrupts her. Elias sensed the tension but refused to be afraid. He admired Scilarri's quiet strength. One afternoon, as they walked near the Silver River, Scilarri stopped. I want to show you something, she said. They climbed a small hill, where the city lights faded and the stars stretched wide above. Scifi reached out, not with her hand but with her mind, and shared a vision. Elias saw a memory of her childhood, a small Velcaran girl, lonely and shy, watching others share thoughts freely but never feeling close. A little hand reaching out for comfort, but no one taking it. I was that child, Scifi whispered. I learned to hide my desire for touch. It became a secret wish. Elias felt a deep compassion. You don't have to hide it with me. She smiled, but sadness stayed in her eyes. The world here is not ready, but with you I feel safe. At that moment, Elias reached out and gently brushed her hand. The contact was brief, but electric. Scifi gasped softly, her eyes wide. The feeling was new and strange, a warm, tender connection unlike any she had known. They both pulled back, surprised and unsure. Did I overstep? Elias asked quietly. Scifi shook her head, a shy smile spreading. No, you gave me a gift I never knew I wanted. As the stars watched silently, Elias and Scifi sat side by side, sharing a new kind of understanding, a beginning that neither could yet name. The days that followed the first touch were filled with quiet wonder. Scifi found herself thinking about that brief moment more than she expected. It was unlike anything she had ever experienced, warm, comforting, and deeply personal. Yet she kept her feelings hidden beneath the calm mask that the Velcarans wore like a shield. Elias noticed a change in her too. Her smiles were softer, her steps lighter. She began asking more questions about Earth, about the ways humans showed care through touch. Why do you hug strangers when you meet them? She asked one evening as they walked through the glowing crystal gardens. Elias smiled, happy to share. For us, a hug can mean welcome or friendship. It can comfort someone who feels sad. It's a way to say you are not alone. Scifi listened carefully. I wish my people understood this. They think touch is too raw, too uncontrolled. Elias looked at her with gentle eyes. Maybe they just haven't felt it the right way yet. One afternoon, Scifi invited Elias to a quiet place outside the city. A small observatory built long ago but now mostly forgotten. Its glass walls caught the sunlight and inside, stars and planets were mapped with glowing orbs. This was my favorite place as a child, Scifi said softly. Here, I could dream about worlds beyond my own. Elias looked around with interest. It's beautiful. You must have spent many hours here. She nodded. Yes, but also alone. The other Velcarans did not understand me. I was different. Scifi looked down, tracing patterns on the smooth glass floor. I kept a secret, Elias. I dreamed of feeling what humans feel, the warmth of touch, the comfort of being close. But I was afraid to tell anyone. Elias sat beside her. You don't have to be afraid with me. She looked up, her eyes full of hope and fear at once. I want to understand. But how do I begin? How do I learn to feel without losing myself? Elias thought for a moment. We take it slow. You guide me as much as I guide you, Scifi smiled. Then I will try. Over the next several meetings, Elias and Scifi explored the meaning of touch gently. Elias taught her simple gestures, a light brush of the hand, a reassuring pat on the shoulder. Scifi learned how each small action could carry meaning, sometimes stronger than words, but not everyone was pleased. Whispers began to reach Elias's ears. Some Velcarans called Scifi reckless. The council was strict about tradition and wary of human influence. Scifi's actions were seen as a risk to their ways. One day, as Elias and Scifi sat in the observatory, a sudden knock came at the door. Two Velcaran officials entered, their faces serious. Scifi, the council requests your presence, one said. They have questions. Scifi's face tightened, but she stood calmly. I will go. Elias looked worried. Is this serious? Scifi nodded. It is the price of curiosity. That evening, Elias waited anxiously outside the council chambers. When Scifi emerged, her eyes shone with a quiet strength. "They questioned me about my meetings with you," she said. "They say I break the rules." "Do they forbid touch?" Elias asked softly. Scifi nodded. "Not just touch, but any change from our ways. They fear it will weaken us." "But you don't believe that," Elias said firmly. "No," Scifi replied. "I believe understanding grows from openness." Elias took her hand gently. "Then we face this together." Scifi smiled, her courage growing with his support. That night, as they stood beneath the stars, Scifi whispered, "I am tired of hiding who I am. If my people look, let them look, but I want more than their eyes. I want to be touched with kindness and love." Elias held her hand firmly. "Then we will show them a new way." The next days would be a test of their strength and belief. But for the first time, Scifi felt the warmth of hope growing inside her, a hope that her hidden desire would not remain a secret forever. Days passed quietly, but the air between Elias and Scifi changed in a way that neither could ignore. Their meetings, once simple talks, became moments of deep connection. Words and thoughts were shared freely, and even though Velcaran culture avoided physical touch, the space between them seemed to shrink. One afternoon, Elias invited Scifi to walk through the crystal gardens again. The soft light from the glowing plants made the air feel warm, like a gentle hug without touch. Scifi smiled, her eyes brighter than before. "I never thought I could feel this peaceful," she said softly. "Your world, your ways, it opens something inside me." Elias looked at her with care. "I'm glad. I want you to feel safe and free." Scifi hesitated, then asked, "Do you think my people will ever accept this closeness?" Elias shrugged gently. "Change is hard for everyone, but sometimes all it takes is one person brave enough to start." They continued their walk, sharing stories of their lives. Scifi spoke of her childhood loneliness, of feeling different in a world that prized control over feeling. Elias shared tales of Earth, of families holding hands, friends hugging after a long day, of simple kindness shown through touch. As the sun set, painting the sky with soft colors, Scifi stopped and looked at Elias. "I want to try something," she said quietly. Elias nodded, waiting patiently. She reached out slowly, just a fingertip brushing his arm. The touch was light, a soft spark of warmth. Elias smiled gently, encouraging her. "Do you feel it?" she asked. "Yes," Elias replied. "It's the start of something beautiful." Over the next weeks, their secret meetings grew deeper. Scifi began to understand the language of touch, not just the physical sensation, but the meaning behind it. A touch could say comfort, care, friendship, and even love. Elias never rushed her. He let her lead, respecting the lines she set. Scifi learned to trust, and in that trust her hidden desire began to shine more openly. But the outside world was watching. Rumors spread through the city. Some Velcarans whispered that Scifi was losing herself, that human ways were corrupting her spirit. The council grew uneasy. One evening Xyrith approached Elias quietly. "You walk a dangerous path with Scifi," he warned. "The council may act soon." Elias nodded solemnly. "I will protect her." Xyrith sighed. "Your kindness is clear, but their fear runs deep. Change is never easy." Scifi herself felt the weight of expectation. At times she wondered if her longing for touch was selfish, but each time she saw Elias's steady presence, she found courage to continue. In a quiet moment, she confided in him, "I am scared, but with you, I am brave." Elias took her hand, holding it gently. "We face this together. Your desire is not wrong. It is part of who you are." Their bond became a refuge, a place where Scifi could be herself, and Elias could learn the true meaning of patience and respect. One night under the twin moons of Velkara, Sayalari and Elias stood side by side in the crystal gardens. The air was cool, but their closeness made the world feel warm. Sayalari looked at him, eyes shining. "I want to share more than thoughts. I want to show my heart." Elias smiled softly. "Then I am here." Slowly, Sayalari reached out again. This time her hand covered his. It was a simple gesture, but powerful. She felt a new strength, an acceptance of her own feelings. Elias squeezed her hand gently, a silent promise. Together they began to build a new language, a language of touch, respect, and understanding. It was fragile, but real. No words were needed. The gentle warmth between Elias and Sayalari grew stronger with each passing day, but so did the shadows that followed them. The quiet city of Velkara, known for its calm and order, began to buzz with whispered talk. The elders and council members were uneasy about the changes Sayalari seemed to bring. Sayalari could feel the watchful eyes on her whenever she walked through the city. Some faces were filled with curiosity, others with disapproval. For the first time in her life, she sensed true isolation, not from the physical distance, but from the beliefs that surrounded her. One afternoon, as Elias and Sayalari met beneath the silver trees near the river, she spoke quietly. "I hear their voices. They say I betray our ways." Elias squeezed her hand gently. "Change is always met with fear, but your heart is brave." Sayalari nodded. "It is not easy. My people believe that touch is primitive, a weakness, but I know it is more." Elias looked at her with respect. Touch can be a strength. It can build trust and hope. That evening, the council gathered in the Hall of Lights. Sayalari had been summoned. Elias waited outside, feeling a mix of worry and determination. When Sayalari emerged, her face was calm but serious. "They warned me to stop seeing you," she said. "They fear what they do not understand." Elias frowned. "But your feelings are true, they cannot be wrong." Sayalari's eyes met his. "I will not hide. If they look, let them look. But what I want, what I need, is not just to be seen with their eyes, but to be loved with their touch." Elias admired her courage. "We will face this together." Word spread quickly. Some Velkarans whispered of rebellion. Others quietly admired Sayalari's bravery. The divide grew. One night, as they walked through the glowing streets, a small group of young Velkarans approached them. Their faces were serious but not unkind. "We have heard your story," one said. "Perhaps there is truth in your ways. We want to learn." Sayalari's eyes lit up with hope. "Then maybe our people can grow." Elias smiled warmly. "Together, we can build understanding." But not all welcomed the change. Some elders planned to act, fearing the traditions might break. In the days that followed, Elias and Sayalari prepared to share their story openly. They knew it would be difficult, but they believed the power of kindness and touch could heal old fears. As the twin moons rose over Velkara, Sayalari stood beside Elias. Her hand found his once more, steady and sure. "Let them watch," she whispered, "because now I am ready to be touched and to touch in return." Elias nodded. This is only the beginning. The future was uncertain, but their hearts were united, shining brightly in a world ready to listen. The night was calm, the twin moons casting a gentle silver light over the city of Velkara. The soft glow from the crystal gardens reflected like stars on the smooth paths. Elias and Sayalari walked side by side, their steps quiet but steady. The weight of what was about to happen hung lightly in the air. Both knew this moment was important, unlike any other they had shared. For Sayalari, this was more than just a meeting. It was a step into the unknown, a crossing from thought alone into the world of feeling through touch. She looked at Elias with a mix of hope and uncertainty. "Are you sure?" Elias asked gently. "We can wait as long as you want." Sayalari nodded, her hand reaching out slowly to me. "Eat his." This time she did not hesitate. Her fingers brushed against his palm, soft and careful, as if she was afraid the moment might break if she moved too fast. Elias held her hand gently, his touch warm but respectful. For a long moment, they simply stood there, connected by something neither had fully named before. "It feels different," Scifi whispered. "More real." Elias smiled softly. "That's the language of touch. It speaks without words." Her eyes closed briefly, and when she opened them again, a quiet strength shone within. The fear that had once held her back was now replaced by a new courage. As their fingers intertwined, Scifi felt a gentle warmth spreading through her body, like sunlight on a cold morning. It was comforting and exciting all at once. They stayed, like that, hand in hand, until the stars faded and the first light of dawn touched the horizon. Neither wanted to break the connection. When the sun rose, Scifi looked at Elias and said, "Thank you for teaching me this, for showing me how to feel with more than my mind." Elias squeezed her hand. "You taught me, too, that sometimes silence can be filled with more meaning than words." The days after their first touch were different. Scifi walked through the city with a softer step, her eyes shining with quiet joy. Some Velkarans noticed the change, but no one dared to speak openly. Elias continued to support her, meeting in secret and sharing stories of Earth's gentle ways. Holding hands, a comforting touch on the shoulder, a reassuring hug. Scifi listened and learned, slowly letting go of the fear that had chained her heart. Yet the council's watchfulness grew. Rumors swirled like autumn leaves and the tension in the city thickened. One evening, Elias was summoned by Zireth. "The council is concerned," Zireth said softly. "They fear these new ideas will cause unrest." Elias nodded. "But Scifi's heart is true. She is not causing harm." Zireth sighed. "Sometimes what is right takes time to be understood. You must be patient." Elias felt the weight of those words. Patience was a challenge, but he was determined to stand by Scifi. Meanwhile, Scifi faced her own battles. Her family and friends distanced themselves, unable to accept her new path. But she refused to turn back. "I will not hide," she told Elias one night. "If my people reject me, I will still live honestly." Elias held her close, feeling the warmth of her resolve. Together they became symbols of a new hope, a chance for two worlds to learn from each other. The first touch was only the beginning, a spark that could light the way for many more. The day had come when Elias and Scifi were to stand before the Velkaran Council and share their story openly. The Hall of Lights was filled with the calm presence of elders and leaders, their eyes watching carefully as the two stepped forward. The air was thick with expectation. Scifi's hand found Elias's and they stood side by side, united and strong. Though some faces held doubt, others held curiosity. Change was never easy, but it was necessary. Elias began, his voice steady. "We come from different worlds, but we share one truth: the need to connect, to feel, and to be understood." Scifi spoke next, her voice clear and calm. "For my people, touch has been forgotten. We speak through thoughts, but sometimes words and feelings need more. I have learned that a gentle touch can speak of kindness, love, and trust." She looked around the room, meeting eyes without fear. "I ask the council to consider a new way, a language of love that includes touch." The room was silent for a long moment. Then Zireth, the cultural guide, stood. "Scifi's courage has opened our eyes. Perhaps it is time for Velkara to grow." Others nodded, slowly embracing the idea. Outside, the city seemed to breathe a new air. Word spread that a new chapter had begun. People gathered to witness the change, a blending of tradition and new understanding. Elias and Scifi walked hand in hand through the streets, greeted by smiles and quiet respect. Their bond had become a symbol of hope. Scifi looked at Elias and smiled. "Thank you for seeing me, for loving me with your touch." Elias squeezed her hand gently. "And thank you for showing me the power of courage." Together they began a journey, Not just of two souls, but of two worlds learning to love in a new way. The hidden desire Sayalari once thought was impossible had become real. Love, with all its warmth and depth, was now a language everyone could speak.